So tonight I want to talk about the importance of developing our own intuition. And I feel like this is a topic that comes through often and I can't say enough about it. It's so important for each and every single one of us to develop personal sovereignty. And what that means is we're relying on our own inner knowing rather than the noise of the externals, rather than, second guessing ourselves or, going and asking all our friends and family what we should do, or leaning into external sources of validation and reassurance. Not that there's anything wrong with that. If you're in a place in your life where you really need support and you just don't have access to your own intuition, like you're in a situation where it's very difficult for you to ground, so you can't have access to your intuition, it's fine to lean into support. And part of my message to you is to take this opportunity, if you feel really ungrounded, to start practicing the tools that can help ground you in your body so that you can have access to your intuition. Okay, so this is what's really going to empower us. All right, so I'm very passionate about empowerment as a spiritual path. And what this means is not forcing our will or trying to manipulate circumstances or trying to force outcomes. What it means is really just leaning in and trusting our own authority and developing our own intuitive guidance, our own inner voice, so that we can start to trust ourselves. Okay, as human beings, we're never going to feel like we're on a solid foundation at any point in our lives, in whatever circumstances we find ourselves in, unless we fully trust ourselves. Okay, and this takes awareness, it takes time, it takes practice. Okay, most of us don't fully trust ourselves because we haven't been trained to, right? We've been conditioned to rely on external sources of validation and confirmation and reassurance to make sure we're on the right track, right? To sort of feed off the energy of other people or the approval of other people to make sure we're on the right track. Okay, and this can feel very supportive, but it's ultimately quite disempowering because we never really feel like we have a grip on our truth, right? Who am I? Why am I here? Is this the right thing for me? Does this serve my highest and best good? Is this in alignment with my true nature, with my soul's purpose? And so in order to answer these questions, we have to know ourselves. And to develop this relationship with self, we have to, step one, learn how to ground and learn how to create that inner stillness so that you can feel answers in your body. Okay. And this is very, very important. When I teach intuition development and, psychic abilities and mediumship training to my students, we always start with some very basic yes/no techniques. Okay, so when you have a question for spirit, you have a question for universal intelligence, whatever your frame of reference for that is, it can be your higher self. These to me are all synonyms of each other. When you have a question or you're uncertain about something, it's very important to distill it down to a yes or a no. Okay, especially when you're first starting out with developing your intuition. And the reason I say that is because it eliminates all of the stories and all of the rabbit holes that we can kind of spin into as we are trying to figure out what our next move is or what serves our highest and best good. Okay, so this is very, very important. If you have a question, contextualize it as a yes or a no, so you can start to feel into the energy of what that's like for you in your body. You're going to feel the difference in your body. For example, let's say you frame your question in terms of a yes or no, and you ask yourself, you create this inner stillness, you take some deep diaphragmatic breaths to ground, to regulate your nervous system, and to clear any noise or any static that might be going on in your mind, always understanding that the accurate answer for whatever it is that you're trying to ask spirit doesn't come from the mind, it comes from your intuition, and your intuition speaks to you through your body. Okay, so you'll feel it in your body. And as you develop this ability to tune into your intuition, you'll start to notice, perhaps audible messages or visualizations or, just hits of intuition. Perhaps you'll see symbols. So all of these are products of our own intuition developing. These are our clairs coming online, but it starts with that simple hit of yes, no. Okay, so once you take some deep diaphragmatic breaths and you ground yourself in your body, and you're feeling into the energy and you're sitting with the question, yes feels like a pull forward. It feels like all the cells are expanding. It feels like your whole body is opening up, willing to receive, the full manifestation of whatever it is you're asking. It wants in. right? You'll feel that on a physical level. There'll be a physiological response to the yes, to the question when it's a yes, and there's a physiological response when it's a no. So I want you to really practice this, okay? As you're answering the question, if you feel no, you'll feel a pull backwards. You'll feel your cells contract a little bit. Perhaps your body shrinks. This takes subtle awareness, okay? So, again, if you're doing deep intuitive work, I would stay away from mood altering substances, recreational drugs, things like that, refined sugars, anything that's really going to sort of interfere with your sensitivities, okay, within 24 to 48 hours prior to doing some really deep intuitive work. Very, very important. Make sure you've had a lot of sleep, you're well hydrated. When you sit down and you cultivate stillness and you practice the diaphragmatic breath, it doesn't take a long time, just a few minutes of this grounding, and you'll be able to ask your questions. You'll be able to close your eyes and contextualize your answers, yes or no, and start to practice this technique. Okay. It's very, very powerful. Every question can be answered in terms of yes or no. So start to practice this and see what comes through for you. I'd love to hear about it in the comments. I'd love for you to come back and share with me, what you were able to answer, if it worked out for you, if your answer was accurate in terms of how things unfolded. This will start to develop your subtle awareness and sensitivity to your own body's way of communicating, your own body's way of expressing intuition, and it will help you deepen this trust that I've been talking about, the trusting yourself, being able to trust yourself in any situation so that you feel sovereign, right? We feel empowered. We feel like, regardless of what people are saying around us or regardless of what everybody else is doing, in a moment of chaos, I know myself. I feel grounded in my body. I trust my own ability to lean into my intuition. I get clear signals and I know exactly what to do in each moment. Okay. And this is my wish for you and my wish for all beings everywhere, that we develop personal sovereignty and that we learn to live an intuitively guided life. This helps eliminate the fear, the anxiety, the second guessing, being trapped in the mind, trying to figure things out on a mental level, and just being able to lean into our own intuition and trust that we're being divinely guided every step of this human experiment that we're all in.